Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to part number 2 of Day 9 Daily number 367, where we learn to be a better gamer. Excessive amounts of noise to celebrate the fact that we're about to hop into Nestea's style. To briefly recap, part 1 was a little bit about your attempts to do Naniwa's style of PvZ, that very cool fast robo play. We just wanted to point out how our mechanics, if messed up, will definitely make our play overall a little worse in kind of subtle ways, but the important thing is that even if we hit all the big points, we still come out strong. But the big idea that we saw in the last game before we started the break was that this idea of conditional plays. If we see him taking a fast third, then we can do this double immortal small zealot sentry push, and we can do a lot of damage. If he doesn't do the fast third, we might want to rethink it. Yeah. So what we're going to be doing is hopping into this game between MVP and Nestea, where we're going to see Nestea do that same kind of heavy emphasis idea of this conditional play. I want to say that so much to you. Conditional play. Conditional play. Conditional play. Very important for Zerg. I think of all races, it is the most important. We're going to see Nestea actually play kind of standard sounding. I don't want to call it standard looking, but when you think standard in Zerg vs. Terran, you think Zergling, Baneling, Mutalisk, getting upgrades for the Mutas and the Zerglings in their attack. That sounds normal-ish, but the way that he's going to do it is very subtle, and again, depends on these conditions. That's why I really like this game especially. This is from BlizzCon, which was a freaking kick-ass tournament that MVP amazingly pulled a comeback victory against Nestea to take the series. So cool. So freaking cool, boy. And this is the game where Nestea absolutely mollywomped his opponent. So what I want to do right at the start is just review the ultra basic openings and whatnot. Openings tend to be pretty hard to land properly as a Zerg player because many of them revolve around the larva injects landing properly. Many of them. If you're Protoss or Terran, it can sometimes be quite easy to say something like, keep making SCVs and then do a barracks on 15. That can be pretty easy to do. But with a Zerg player, want to make sure that we know all the ultra specifics. So first of all, we're going to see Nestea do this opening that he does all the time. I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which is where I'm actually going to do some of the specifics of the opening. Opens, actually let me just put it like this. Opens hatch first, then pool gas. And let's just go ahead and write out some of these very specifics. I generally don't like doing this, but you know what? 15 hatch, and look at this. Here's an interesting thing to note. Builds 2 extra drones on a big map like Antigua Shipyard. On maps like Shattered Temple, I've seen him build no extra drones. He just kind of sneaks in as many drones as he can. So I would put 15 hatch, sneak in drones if possible, then pool. This is the most important part of all. Sneak in drones if possible, then pool. It is wrong to say 14 hatch. It is wrong to say 14 pool. Wrong. 14 pool, I don't care if it's a 15 pool, I don't care if it's a 16 pool. That is not what's going on. He sneaks in drones if possible, and then... Alright, I guess I don't want to save this. Let me save his fancy notes. Yeah, alright, cool. Now I can hit Control S and not bring up my hidden folders. Nestea going to go ahead and do his extractor. Right after that, that's fine. Everything's looking so good. And interestingly, no real scouts. Here's another important thing. He's going to go for Overlord Positioning to deal with attacks. This second Overlord is super key. This second Overlord is hanging out by the hatch. Overlord number 1 generally goes over to the generally will go over to your opponent expansion, trying to find what sort of things are going on there. But in a lot of situations, your second Overlord just sort of goes wherever the hell you want. A lot of times people just send it off to another main. A lot of times they'll just send it off this way. You know, like, you don't really want to say that sort of thing. You want to have some sort of purpose to it. This Overlord, sure, it went and scouted by the main, but now it has this purpose of heading up and hiding in this little crack to spot this third. This second Overlord, I think, is like one of the most important dudes in the whole game. Yeah. Super important buddy time. Alright, cool. Mining gas as he can. Everything looking quite good. Very little scouting done by Nestea. Very bold droning. Almost no Zerglings. That's key. Look at this. 2 queens popping up. So in this opening, make as many drones as possible. Don't save larvae for lings. Let me actually put it like this. Don't save larvae for lings. Yeah, I guess I will have to stretch this. Darn. Drone up. This is a better way to put it. Don't save larvae for lings, drone up. This is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes that Zerg players will make in the opening at all the lower levels. Double queen looking good. Double queen looking great. There we see the Zergling speed up. Ling speed plus only 2 lings. Alright, so cool. This is my opening. Alright, notice how I have only included one specific number of 15 hatch. I have not really included very much of anything else at all. I have not included 14 this, 16 that, 17 whatever. Sneak in drones if possible, then pool. Oops. Overlord positioning to deal with upcoming attacks. Bam. Notice how don't save larva for lings, drone up. Yeah, that's because if we see an attack coming, then we can save up the larva. Ah. Looking quite good, my friends. Now, what you'll probably notice at this point is that Nestea actually has 0 information. He actually doesn't know jack. He's just secured this watchtower. He's getting himself a 3rd queen. So I'm actually going to put blind 3rd queen. He's just getting a 3rd queen up for creep. He's spending all his initial larva, or all his initial frickin' energy on larva.
Our forces are under attack.
And very little on any sort of creep tumors. So again, we're going to see, look at this, still building drones. This is one of the more, one of the periods where it's really easy not to drone. It's really super easy. But notice Nestea's care with these Zerglings. Here is a huge theme. Extreme caution and care with initial lings. One of the most common things you'll see people do is suicide their first lings. Just straight up suicide. They'll see that moment and go, oh yeah, I just try to go for it as best I can. If we actually come back a little bit more, Nestea is ultra smart with these Zerglings. Ultra smart. Watch what he does with this first Zergling. Many people just take this first Zergling and they're like, go, 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 go. He sees these and immediately pulls them back. And see, look at all the clicking that's going on here. He's trying to see something that he can. But he's really going to be very, very careful. He'll actually probably run these Marines again. Yeah, see, look at that. You see that sort of early care? This is a monumentally important theme that, in fact, most Grandmaster Zergs at the low levels don't do. Really weird. You know how when we watch MVP play, we had this general rule, like, he doesn't try to do damage, he instead tries to take no damage. That's his sort of guiding principle that he's working with. Work with this guiding principle. This first Zergling should be treated as though it is like the Queen of England, man. Super important. He tries to sneak up once he's screwed, but there were 3 or 4 moments in there where MVP was like, whoa, 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 being really cautious. Super ultra cautious. 3rd queen pops up, straight away larva inject. Absolutely no Zerglings whatsoever. Absolutely none. But I want you to watch not his build for the time being, but the fact that there's 2 more Zerglings being made. And look at this other Zergling guy. He's been pulled away from this watchtower, and now here he goes. He's going to start venturing forward.
Metamorphosis complete.
He has speed now. You see that? You see that little tiny juke? It kind of sucked that there were actually Marines behind here. But watch the way he does this. He's going to skirt up to the edge.
Metamorphosis complete.
He's being really careful. If we actually come to the Nestea cam and back up just 10 seconds, he doesn't see those Marines that come in from behind. So here he is doing his larva injects. Now he's starting to head up to do this third. See, these Marines sort of surprise him from behind if we actually looked at his camera angle. So, Nestea, at this point in time, has really only built 4 Zerglings. But these 2 were built kind of as a response to losing those in the middle of the map. And now, he's going to be advancing forward to go take this watchtower. Now, here's an extremely important thing to note, that at this point in the game, this is probably one of the more subtle points to make. At this point in the game, Nestea can be pretty reasonably certain that MVP is early expanding. He can be pretty reasonably confident in that statement. Why is that? Why is that? It's first important to note why he is allowed to say that. Part of it is that he sees that there's these Marines at the ramp. It looks like MVP's trying to hide something. That's part of it. You can't over-conclude that, because then he could just easily be going for a fast blah strategy and just run with it. That's the big one. Gargamash just said no Hellions. No Hellions have come out on the map. No tech of any other kind has showed up at all. We're at 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Technically, a Banshee could be coming up. That's probably the only thing that I'd really be ultra worried about. And we have a 3rd Queen coming up. Now, if our opponent was very clearly going for some sort of, you know, big Hellion play, like a 2-factory Hellion, or if he was going for, I don't know, some big Marine Marauder pushes, we would have other information to indicate that to us. So in fact, Nestea is not just blindly building a third hatch. These timings end up being very, very important. And again, this is not a 100% factual thing. This is not like when we saw Naniwa on Thursday's Daily see a 3rd base and then do a push because of the 3rd base. Nestea is about 85 to 95% certain. And especially considering he plays with MVP a lot, technically that should be helpful, but I'm going to actually ignore that. All the signs, and in particular the lack of any Hellions at this point, really to me indicate that this is going to be a safe expansion. Things like the Banshee we're probably going to be fine against, because we're starting to spread creep with our helpful 3rd Queen. Nestea really wants to go for this fast 3rd. If some sort of Hellioning was coming up, this would likely be delayed by quite a bit. Or Nestea would make roaches, something like that. So the important thing, another thing that I want to note in here, see we have blind 3rd Queen, never skip larva injects. There was a moment where this queen went and spread creep tumors, and then this 3rd Queen popped up and went to larva injecting. You effectively have not skipped a single larva inject, though. And come and look at the drone count. Ridiculously high. Extreme caution care with initial lings to gain info. The fact that we can take this 3rd is directly related to these brave, bold Zerglings that sacrificed their life to get a good Marine count and to see what MVP was up to. So what I want to put is take 3rd and then insta-Baneling nest. At this point, we've only been making drones. Yeah. One thing that people were asking about earlier on is this drone on gas count. We could probably go into that a little bit. He's had 1 drone on gas this whole time. Ling speed, only 2 lings. Pull 2 out of gas. take third, and then insta-baneling nest, add 2 to gas. These notes are a little bit more detailed than we saw in the Naniwa daily, but still, this daily is more about how Nestea ends up doing somewhat standard-looking things. However, because he's such a huge boss and has everything timed so ridiculously well, that's what makes his standard play strong. It's not the idea so much, it's like this execution. Look, baneling nest, now we have 3 back in gas. Boom! Never missing a single drone ever. Never misses a single drone. Nestea, aggressive with these 2 Zerglings, but it's only 2. Frickin' insanely, stupidly aggressive. And look at that! 4th hatch. When does the 4th hatch go down? How would I describe that? When does the 4th hatch go down? I wouldn't say on 57 food. I would say 4th hatch. Whoa! Look at that. It's my overlay. I would say 4th hatch when you can afford it. 4th hatch when you can afford it. At this point, we've only been making drones. And this is, I think, a clever adjustment Nestea makes. I think that this, if I had to label anything as the important aspect to this build, I would label it as this one. 4th hatch when you can afford it. The big problem that Zerg players used to do when taking fast thirds is they would say to themselves, all right, I'm going to get my third up, and now let me go for Mutalisk as fast as I can. My old build was be on 2 bases and get Mutalisk as fast as I can. So now I'm going to sneak in a 3rd hatch at the 3rd base, and now I'm going to get Mutalisk as fast as I can. And those games were very fragile and very like, they kind of felt like this. That is not Nestea's goal. Nestea is not trying to get Mutalisk up as fast as possible. He is trying to be safe and get a ridiculous economy up. It is not an attack-oriented style. It is a defense and econ-oriented style. So this play to get this 4th hatch up is another way of saying, well, yeah, I have 46 drones and no army. I'm in great shape because I have 1, 2, 3, and soon 4 hatches that can make me Ling Banelings, and I'll be safe. When we go into part number 3, we're going to wrap up and look at the way that Nestea continues to fuel this huge economy, how he deals with and defends versus early attacks, and then what plays he makes with that standard mixture of units. It ends up being a very standard play, but we're going to see some of these basic rules that Nestea's working with that help him be able to perform so well. Ha! When we come back, it'll be part 3. Don't go anywhere!